Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we're going to give you a review of Week 12 and all the crazy shit that happened. Maddie, we'll get into it over the games. Again, we can beat the drum. Awful officiating this week. I know I'm online seeing a lot of things, and we're going to start with the Vikings versus the 49ers. And I keep seeing, oh, the refs cost us the game. The refs cost us the game. You guys can say that. And there was some, like, the 49ers and offensive line and Kittle got away with holding all day. There was two bad non-PI calls at the end. But that's not why.
Definite PIs as well. That's the kind of stuff.
That's not why the Vikings lost, though.
Yeah.
They had so many fucking opportunities, shot themselves in the foot. Cousins missed a couple shots he should have had. And I know Jefferson was upset, and you know I love Justin Jefferson. After rewatching part of that, I think he ran the wrong route when Cousins missed him in the end, or in that one catch. And I think that was just, I don't think I should rephrase that. I think it was an option route. Cousins thought he was going one way and Jefferson went the other, and they just didn't match up. So I get Jefferson was frustrated. I think that the Vikings just shot themselves in the foot in a game they could have won. And they had a chance to get ahead and win repeatedly. And if you get up by 2 touchdowns on the 49ers, good luck on them coming back.
Yeah, that was a game. It was a kind of weird game where the 49ers, the Vikings looked like a better team for large swathes of it and then just got beat. But we said when we were reviewing the game, there's one man that you've got to be worried about when you're facing the 49ers. And that one man had a huge game. Deebo Samuel is kind of another breed of weapon.
Yeah, he's more of an all-around guy. I wouldn't even just call him a receiver. He's like, minus the quarterbacking, he's like Slash from the Steelers, or like guy you can move around. Or if Vikings fans will remember this, he's like a Percy Harvin. I mean, that was a guy who could kill you out of the backfield, out of receiving. Yeah, no, Deebo Samuels is a fucking stud.
Yeah, he's got that tag weapon. That's what you call him, just weapon. And he had an absolutely awesome game. Played really, really well. Jimmy Garoppolo was for scoring 34 points. The 49ers offense was a bit weird. You know what I mean? Like Garoppolo had some strange throws. The 49ers are a weird team to me at the minute. They're a weird franchise.
Yeah, it's this weird thing. So Pat McAfee mentioned this and did a poll, which is pretty much split 50-50. If you're an NFL franchise, who do you give $40 million to? Because that's what a going rate for a quarterback is. Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield. Like, this is where they're at with Garoppolo. Like, what do you do? Now, they have the heir apparent in San Francisco, but that's where Garoppolo's at. Like, some games you're like, oh, fucking pay this guy. And some games are like, you can't give this guy that money.
Yeah, I reckon you can get away with paying Jimmy Garoppolo a lot less than Baker Mayfield. Like
no, but the question was, if you're a franchise, which guy you paying $40 million?
They're both asking
I get the question, you know, like there's a lot
Jimmy's
of questions on both sides.
Garoppolo's taken a team to a Super Bowl and Baker Mayfield hasn't. And
yeah, but I also think Baker Mayfield's way more talented than Jimmy. So, like, where do you 100%. Go?
And Jimmy's also more injury prone, so it's a difficult.
Well, they're both injury prone. Baker just might be the toughest fucking Cleveland.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah, the Vikings definitely kind of found a way to lose this game towards the end. Dalvin Cook getting injured as well. That's just not a good.
Yeah, he's out till the playoffs if they make the playoffs.
That could have really, really helped. That could have really helped them in that stretch towards the end there. Just a weird game, and the Vikings found a way to lose. But some terrible officiating calls as well. And as much as I like the fact that you're saying, the Vikings lost themselves the game as well, they can't keep getting away with this terrible officiating.
Could we have won if the officials called that? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that's why we lost, because I think there was a lot of opportunities.
Should you have won it in spite of
that drive?
Should you have won it in spite of? Maybe, yeah.
We shouldn't even been in that position at the end, is my argument. You know?
Yeah, definitely. There's another game that we're going to be talking about second where like that. It's a different thing because But anyway, the Vikings, yes, they could have won that game, but they should have put it to bed a bit earlier. They're a better team. I fully believe that they're going to qualify for the playoffs. They're a really good setup. I wouldn't be too worried about the Vikings. They kind of show that they're a stellar team. Kirk Cousins, for me, is going to have a couple of those days where he gets a bit wayward, and they're the kind of days where people say, "Oh, he's not all that shit. He's not all that shit." But
that was a hell of a defensive line coming in his face all day, too. I mean, that's a rough defensive line. I'm not giving Kurt a pass. I'm just saying, like, you're right. This shit's going to happen. Not only is he going to shit the bed once in a while, he's going to have days where they're playing a line and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm running for my life.
And when you compare the difference between Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo, you know that Mike Shanahan is going to give his fucking right hand if he would to get a guy like Kirk Cousins in that team at the minute.
Yeah, I'm still in my feelings.
Yeah, at least Kirk Cousins is stable, unlike Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, like at least he's there.
Right.
They would like Kyle Shanahan would love to. You watch them, and you think. You watch them last night and you think, yeah, they're both very similar guys, but no, Kirk Cousins better because he's there more, and he seems to have a bit more big game, big play ability this last couple of years.
So when you watch a game, I don't a lot of time, very rarely do I think, oh, fuck, the coach actually won them that game. It's usually the Jimmys and the Joes more than the X's and the Go's on game day, and it's vice versa on practice, right? Yeah. I watch 49ers games, and I'm not necessarily saying this game, but I watch 49ers games, and I'm like, oh, Shanahan won him that game.
Yeah. I would love to have like a Shanahan at the Cowboys rather than a Mike McCarthy. Like, you know, like that's, you know what I mean? We have one in Kellen Moore. We just need to give him the head coaching job as far as I'm concerned. But Mike Shanahan is a fantastic coach who wins them the game. He does the kind of thing that Bill Belichick is able to do as well. And that 49ers defense, as shitty as it looked at points during this year, will be back and is starting to come back. They put a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Right. And I'm not one to correct you, but I'm pretty sure you just misspoke and said Mike instead of Kyle.
I'm saying Mike, Kyle. I'm switching them interchangeably. I've done it by accident, and I've noticed that I'm doing it.
I still say Oakland instead of Las Vegas, okay? So I get you. But that's a good segue, because on to the former Oakland, now Las Vegas Raiders, the Cowboys to Coach COVID, and a game that had 28 flags thrown in it.
We were just saying off air, if the Vikings had the refereeing team that the Cowboys had, they would have won that game, and vice versa. If the Cowboys had the refereeing team that the Vikings had, then they would have won that game. You say there's 28 flags, right? But there could have been way more than that. Like, it's like the referees felt so bad for the offensive line of Oakland, the offensive line of Vegas, that they stopped giving holding calls in the third and fourth periods against Micah Parsons. Like, go back and watch the 40 minutes of that game, and that holding Micah Parsons pretty much every single play. Like, the dude is just stood, and he was too much for all of their offensive line. And he got to the point where you were thinking, oh, maybe it isn't holding because nobody can be held that much. And you watch a lot of plays, and there's holding, especially on two of the Antonio Brown pass interference calls, where there is definite holding on Micah Parsons. And that doesn't excuse Anthony Brown, because dude played garbage last night. And I've been saying, is he really the guy that you want to be your second best cornerback on a Super Bowl challenging team? Is he really that guy? I would say no. If he's your third best cornerback, you're happy. If he's your second, then you're shitting yourself and a bit worried.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think it was said on the broadcast, though, that he didn't have a single penalty up until this week.
Yeah, and he's been playing out of his mind, but you also watch him get gashed on a lot of plays, and we've had a good safety cover this year, and you do watch him, and he does sometimes look a bit like a fish out of water. Like Trayvon Diggs looks like at times, very hot and very cold, but he doesn't have the upside that Diggs has, in the same way where Diggs will just win you a game by taking away the ball. Whereas, and then there's that call of that the most amazing turnover that we're going to see all year ruled out because it wasn't the guy. I know
when it first
what
happened, I was like, I got to see a replay, right? Because I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like on the field, boom, boom, I didn't know. Then when they showed the replay first, I'm like, I don't think he had that first foot down, which doesn't make it a football move. But I also thought whatever they called it on the field had to stand.
Yeah, 100%. And they called it like they decided. But it's the fact that they let the play run on for so long and then call incomplete pass after hearing the fans screaming, oh, that's an incomplete pass. They need to make the call before they see it on TV. So they need to make the call before it goes off in the
stadium. I don't know why
you
have that stance. My feeling is whatever it takes to get it right. And I don't believe they were influenced like you do. I think they let it run, huddled up. One of them said it was incomplete, and that's where the call came from. So I think we look at it completely different.
Yeah, I just think that call, if you're gonna do it as a call on the field, that call on the field has to be instant call on the field. You can't then wait for replay and then do call on the field. Because then it's going off replay, and that's fine. I've said this to you, as long as you get it right,
I got this question.
Then that's okay. Yeah, go for it.
Let's say instantly they call it incomplete. Your guy picks it up with a clear line to the end zone, and then they review it, and it was a fumble, and you got screwed out of a touchdown because they didn't let the play run out.
Like yeah, but it wasn't that long though, was it? It was much longer than letting the play run out. We'd already turned it over and headed back. We'd already gone for it. Like it was a long time in between the calls. Anyway,
fair enough.
The decision making aside, the decision is weird.
Maybe that's part of the reason that reffing is so horrible, because humans can't just agree, right? Like
yeah. But the football move part of it
is such bullshit. A broad fucking term too.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like the guy catches the fucking football, right? So therefore the guy has caught the football, and it's the catch and the tuck away. I don't care about the amount of steps. He tucks it away. It gets knocked out by his side. It doesn't get knocked out right here. It's a strange call, and they ruined what is an amazing play. And we see that kind of thing in cricket all the time, where you slide towards the boundary and you flick it back in. It's incredible. And they ruined what is an amazing play. Anyway, the Cowboys weren't good enough to win that game anyway, no matter what the reffing calls were. They didn't play well enough. And Dak in the fourth quarter fires off again, but where was that for the rest of the game? Like, teams just need to stop playing the Cowboys so soft in the fourth quarter. Just don't be passive against the Cowboys, because then we'll gas you. We'll gash you, and we'll seem to kill you if you start to play passive. But just play hard up, because like they'll just seem to play you in the fourth quarter. That is one of the most gut-wrenching losses I've ever seen in my entire Cowboys watching thing, because of how it was in overtime, getting a PI call again that decides the game. And it was PI, but it was also holding on Micah Parsons going through. And it's very difficult to turn your head to play the ball. I think whoever was commenting on the Buccaneers versus the Colts game said we need to stop that call, because the quarterbacks are getting away. The quarterbacks are getting penalties for a shitty throw. So the throw is miles behind where it should have been, but because the wide receiver sees it and is coming back to play the ball and runs through the QB to go get the shitty pass by the quarterback, then it's pass interference. So it more kind of encourages the quarterback, just throw a shitty ball.
Well, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers perfected that on purpose. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Exactly.
It's brilliant,
exactly.
Because if you throw it short, as long as it's not picked, there's a 99% chance it's a PI.
Yeah, exactly. And there needs to be a way to negate that call. You know, like there is a way to negate that call. There must be, and
it's called the corner getting his head turned around.
Yeah, exactly. The corner can't turn his head around when the wide receiver's running back through him and snapping it like with his head.
Right, but if Brown we'll use him as an example. If he turns and looks at the ball, that's never a pass interference.
Anthony Brown's is pass interference. I'm not disputing it.
No, what I'm saying is it's not a pass interference though if he gets his head around.
The only issue with that is when you're running back through somebody. Yeah, when you're running back through somebody and grabbing the ball that you're 3 feet away from by holding the guy's head, like he can't turn his head around. But for Anthony Brown, that was too late anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like that was the right call.
That's the point. He should be turning his head around quicker. Like
the whole way
corner. Jairzier Alexander for the Packers is one of those guys who runs with his head back. You know what I mean? Like there's certain great corners that learned how to get. But playing defense in the NFL is fucking impossible.
Yeah, they make it impossible. And Trayvon Diggs does that to a fault.
Well. Also, the Raiders had over 500 yards of offense, and they went 3 of 13 on third down. So that means on first and second down, they're crushing you guys.
Yeah.
And I also think part of the reason you guys didn't win is because guys like Brady, Rodgers, Manning, it doesn't matter who's around him. Dak didn't do it. And it's not saying he can't do it, but yesterday, Dak didn't stand up and shut up all the haters. And
when Dak
froze, when you show the haters, though, is when your team is depleted and you come up. But I'm not blaming the loss on Dak. I'm just saying he could have stood up and shut everybody the fuck up yesterday.
In overtime, when Dak throws that ball in the dirt, in overtime, when Dak throws that ball in the dirt, right at I don't even know the guy's name, 85 Noah Brown, when he throws the ball in the dirt right at Noah Brown's feet, and Noah Brown could. If he just throws that into his hands, Noah Brown turns up the field and that's a 15, 20-yard gain. We're moving the chains. And every time we move the chains on Thursday, we seem to go down and keep marching down the field and getting points. But we kept on going 3 and out. We went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. But as soon as we got past the first down, we then move it down the field. It was very strange. And Dak shows, I still believe in the situation that it was and the way that the cap's going to go. Dak's wage is fine. Like, I'm okay with the amount of money that we paid Dak Prescott, considering the situation and considering the way the cap's going to go. But I understand why, when you see the throw that he puts in the dirt last night, why people would be outraged to find out that he's making $75 million this year.
It's not even the money. For me, it's with the team around him healthy, I think Dak could win. That team could even win it all. Without a healthy team around him, I don't think Dak's the quarterback to bring them over. But I could be wrong. I'm just saying that's what I see. I don't see him to be as Aaron Rodgers or last year's Patrick Mahomes or a Tom Brady or you know what I mean? But he's still young. I mean, like, it's not like he's been in the league fucking 12 years.
Yeah, it's like he has a weird chemistry with Amari Cooper as well. Like, he's just, like, all of his other wide receivers can seem to go in and out of the team, whatever. But if Amari Cooper goes, he loses that safety blanket. And Tom Brady was never great without. If Edelman and Gronk were out, then he'd struggle because he'd lose his safety blanket in that.
But he won 2 Super Bowls with no receivers.
Apart from Julian Edelman, who's his safety
before that.
I mean,
his first 2. I mean, when Deion Branch is your best receiver, but yes. But then Brady had a stacked team and went 18-0 and lost in the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Enough about the Cowboys. I've delivered on for too long. I'm still not worried. There's a lot of injuries and we've got a lot of guys coming back. And with the guys coming back, we should be. That defensive line then becomes a juggernaut with Micah Parsons, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence in it. And that then saves the secondary from getting as obliterated as it did on Thursday. And normally, if your offense scores 33 points, then you should be winning the game. So I'm not too upset about the offensive side of the ball either.
All right. Well, we'll get to it in our next video of the preview of next week, but half your team's out for that game, so that should be interesting too. We'll go talk about some Colts right now. Colts versus the Bucs. The Colts actually look good for a while, And then they forgot Jonathan Taylor was on the team. And I was literally screaming, run the ball. Jonathan Taylor did not touch the ball until halfway through the fourth in the second half. What the fuck are you doing? It doesn't even make sense. Maybe the best player in football right now, but definitely the best running back. And you don't feed him the ball. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird that they didn't feed him the ball. And then it also coincided with Carson Wentz doing Carson Wentz shit, where he just looked absolutely unbelievable and then looked shit like 2 plays later. He does that. He's not as... Look, good quarterback Carson Wentz makes some absolutely stellar plays and he will make mistakes and you've just got to kind of ride or die with him. You negate the kind of ride or dying with him if you run Jonathan Taylor. Yes, the Bucs have a stacked run defense, which is what we said in the preview would be the downfall of the Colts, the fact that the Bucs can stop the run. But every time Jonathan Taylor ran, he seemed to make some decent yards, and Nakeem Hines made
and
decent yards.
Winning. You're winning. Why are you not just okay? Yeah.
But it's the Colts have been up by around 14 points in 3 games this year against decent teams and have given it away every single time.
Well, I don't have a problem with that interception if Carson Wentz actually puts the ball on his number 1 receiver and gives him a chance. Like, I'm okay with a 50-50 ball to your number 1 receiver, but you didn't even put it close to your freaking receiver. That's the problem. And then you're down by 4. You make a huge stop. I mean, huge. And you fumble a fair fucking catch. And, man, Scotty Miller can fucking fly. That dude came down the field so fast. Scotty Miller was moving.
Scotty Miller is a fucking playmaker, man. Like, Scotty Miller will make a big play whenever you have him on the field.
21 of the points, okay? So only 17 points were scored by the Bucs without it being off a turnover. 21 points were off turnovers.
And that's what the great teams do, though. That's what the great teams do.
Right, but that's why the Colts keep losing.
Yeah, the Colts keep... It's almost like we predicted it at the start of the season where the Colts will only beat themselves if they... The Colts will beat themselves if they lose the turnover battle in games, and they lose the turnover battle in games because Carson Wentz is their quarterback, or they do stupid ass like fumbles and they just cough it up in big games. It's almost like it's like the Vikings this year. The Vikings could have a totally different story of,
hey, we're still the only team that be up by 7 in every fucking game this year.
Yeah, exactly. You've been up by 7 in every single game this year, but like you know what I mean? Like the Colts have been up by like 14 in every single in loads of games and lost them. Like it's a very similar situation. And does it then start to come down to game management with the Vikings? I would say possibly not. I'm not gonna tarnish Mike Zimmer with that brush, but Frank Reich
for Mike Zimmer. I actually think even though we didn't win yesterday, Mike Zimmer has changed from run the ball, play defense, run the ball, play defense, run the ball. And now he's getting aggressive. And I actually think that's what they need to do. But I still think this is going to be a roller coaster season that makes me want to throw up by the end of it.
Yeah. And Frank Reich needs to kind of have one of those.
I love him. And you're right, though.
Yeah. I love Frank Reich. Like, he's a really, really good, he's a quarterback whisperer. Like, Carson Wentz, although I'm bagging on him again, and I always will because I think he's too reckless all times, and you never know when he's kind of going to do that reckless shit. He's like a supercharged Fitzmagic. He's like Fitzmagic's up top, Fitzmagic's ceiling. Wentz blows through it, but then he also blows through Fitzmagic's floor as well. He's like a supercharged version of that. Frank Reich, in those game management situations, needs to just swallow his pride of being this quarterback whisperer and being the guy who's brought Carson Wentz back and just run the ball. You've got the best running back in the league. Just use him, you know. And it was the same with the Cowboys. Sometimes run the ball, and just for the sake of running the ball, like just keep on running it. Keep on running
to
it.
keep the defense honest.
Even if you're not making the yards, it's fine to have a couple of Like, it's fine to have a couple of 3-and-outs. You'll eventually wear them down with the run game that the Colts possess. And the secondary that the Bucs possess will eventually have to bite, and you can keep going. But wear the clock down. That comes down to game management if you're giving up too many 14-point losses.
Yeah, the freaking Colts. I don't know. All right, on to a
game. Bucs
game.
Played great. The Bucs played a great game.
They did, like, but I still,
yeah.
Even though the Bucs won it, I still feel like the Colts could have won that game if they'd just played it right. They shot themselves in the foot. But I even text you, wow, the Colts are looking good, but Brady is the comeback kid.
Yeah, that's why you text me at halftime, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting good at this shit.
On to another game where there was a fair catch fumble, which I'm not sure where these come from. The Packers versus the Rams. The Packers tried to give that game away at times. Like, Aaron Rodgers threw a pass over the shoulder of his receiver and laid it 30 yards into his hand like it was a fucking handoff. This guy, man, the way he throws the deep ball. And then Cobb looked good. I mean, he got injured, but Cobb looked like why they brought him back now. Like, that's starting to fire. And I think the Rams looked bad, and they're looking worse and worse, where I thought, okay, you had a couple bad games. You're going to start getting your shit together. That Rams defense did not look like that Rams defense should look.
Jalen Ramsey, who's meant to be the best corner in the NFL, got outrun by Aaron Rodgers to the corner.
With a broken foot or toe.
What the fuck is that? Aaron Donald blew up the middle a couple of times, which was good to watch. But apart from that, they didn't really have much. Like, Devontae Adams still had a big day, even though he was going against Jalen Ramsey. It just wasn't a big day for Devontae Adams, you know. But
right, it's one of those days you look at the score sheet and you're like, or the stats, and you're like, oh damn, I didn't realize Adams had as good a day as he did.
Yeah, definitely. It looked like one of those games that shouldn't even be that close, but Matt Stafford has a talented arm, like we're saying a lot of the time. So at times, he just forced passes in there that shouldn't have ever been able to go there. Odell Beckham scores his first touchdown since week 4 last season. That could be important. He also gets injured a little bit when he's making it. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But that could be important later on in making the Rams a bit better. Look, the Packers are just a really, really good team, and it's time I start giving them their dues. They have a great defense who did a job on the Rams last night, and they have a great offense led by one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And sometimes you're just going to struggle to beat that. And I think it's horrible for the Rams that coincides with them losing 3 on the bounce, that they play possibly the best team in the NFL.
Yeah. And like I said, I think the Packers kind of tried it a couple times to give that game away, where I think that obviously yesterday the Packers were the better team. We'll see. I mean, I think we're both convinced, unless a meteor hits, both these teams are in the playoffs, right? So they might see each other again, depending where all the seeding lands and everything like that. I don't know, though. I expected the Rams to be playing better right now during this portion of the season than they are.
Yeah, and it's that whole LA to Green Bay change as well. You know, like, that's never a nice change. Never a nice change for the LA team.
It was cold here yesterday, too. So I don't know what our 25 degrees is to you, but that's below your 0.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, when teams come over to climatize to London like a week earlier, so they come over a week before, that's them getting used to the time difference, and it's them getting used to like just being in London and making it up in London. Why don't they do that when they're going to Green Bay? Why don't LA teams, when you know, like the Rams know that is a massive NFC game, why not go 5 days before the game and just get used to what conditions are going to be like out there?
Because there's no way you're going to get a bunch of prima donna millionaires to not throw a fit from being away from home for a week.
Yeah, 100%. I know that's the reason, but sometimes you've just got to go do it. England, right. The England cricket team are about to go play Australia in something called the Ashes Test cricket. Doesn't matter. Obviously, conditions are very, very different. So they go out a month early to get ready to play Australia. Now they're going to be in Australia for a couple of months as well. So like going a month early isn't big fry, but go 5 days early to get used to the climate. And I'm sure they're professional sports players. I'm sure it wasn't that big of a difference, but any little edge, any little
I
edge.
agree with you. I will say, though, as somebody who lives in this frigid ass cold right now, I'm not sure that you can get used to it. Like, I live here for years and I'm still not used to this shit. But
yeah, it's like I would understand not doing it if you go into Detroit because you should smoke Detroit no matter what.
And it's a dome, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Shit. Okay. I forgot that was a
Cleveland. Back when Cleveland was Cleveland. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Maybe if Detroit played in an outdoor stadium, that would be better for them. I think that would make a lot more sense. But anyway, you should smoke them on whatever field that you're playing Detroit on, basically. But in this massive game where it could be for the top seed in the NFC, maybe just put your prima donna shit aside and go and climatize just to give you any advantage. I think
the Rams needed this win to even try to get the division title. So I agree that anything that could help, you got to try.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still not worried about the Rams. They have a lot of parts that they need to integrate and that kind of stuff. We're going to be talking about our best wide receivers in the NFL soon, and I think they have one. And they need to find every single way to get him in the game. And you need to watch our video to find out who that is. I think they missed the 2 safeties that they gave up to Cleveland. The safety in the corner they gave up to Cleveland. I think they missed them a lot more than they thought they would. And their names escape me right now. But I wouldn't have done anything to change that Rams defense if I was them.
No, they just got to get it clicking. And there's a lot of time, and we've seen it before. You just got to get hot before the tournament. As long as you're playing well going into the playoffs, that's all that matters. The Giants proved it twice.
Yeah, the Bucs proved it last year. Yeah.
So, Maddie, I'm going to make a statement that's really a question. So you answer this. Patriots, the best team in the AFC?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're balling. They're balling. And I texted you yesterday, maybe Tennessee's just not good without Derrick Henry. Not to take away from the Pats because they are getting good and they are playing well, but maybe Tennessee's just not good without Derrick Henry.
I think Tennessee kind of run into a buzzsaw in the Pats as well as they're missing their...
Tannehill's looked bad the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, when you're missing the focal point of your entire offense, then you have to change game plan. Rather than maybe if they went into the season without Derrick Henry, they wouldn't be this bad.
And his receivers are out. To be fair, his receivers are out.
Yeah, I wouldn't bag on the Titans too much. What does concern me about the Titans the most is their defense, to be perfectly honest, because it's just hot trash. A lot of the time, it is just garbage. Their defense.
They gave up 36 points.
Yeah, our defense isn't the Titans' defense just isn't right at all. Cornerback Caleb Farley might be able to change that for them. Rookie, who's got a massive injury at the minute. I'm pretty sure he went to the Titans, but he might come back and be able to make a difference for them. Stephon Gilmore, is he injured or was he playing yesterday?
He's in Carolina now.
He's in Carolina. I always get Carolina and Tennessee confused because Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and Christian McCaffrey's out for the season.
Yeah, weird quarterback things. The uniforms
are the
same.
The uniforms.
Yeah, the same franchise, man. Both barbecuing states, difficult.
But with Vrabel, you expect that defense to be better with Vrabel coaching it. So it was a shock. But Bill Belichick does what Bill Belichick does. An injured team comes in, he takes away your strengths, and then he just smacks the shit out of you with, I don't think it's a leap to say, offensive rookie of the year, Mac Jones right now. I don't think that's a leap.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else who's putting up those kind of numbers. Maybe Jalen Waddle if he carries on like he did yesterday. But
Jamar Chase, but it's a quarterback-driven league, so...
Yeah, I think the media don't like Mac Jones enough for him to be the offensive rookie of the year.
If they don't give it to him, it's freaking robbery because this kid has done everything he was asked to do. And there is a bunch of teams that are kicking themselves right now. And all I got to say is, remember,
San Francisco.
Well, listen to this. He was drafted 15th, right?
Yeah.
Guess who traded out of 14?
They wouldn't have even had to move. That's how
Minnesota traded out of 14.
That is how messed up it is. They gave away however many first round picks and they still could have got Mac Jones. If they were like, I understood the moving up, but I only really
but think about that. The Niners are kicking themselves because they traded from 12. Now, if Kellen Mond doesn't become something, the Vikings hate themselves because they traded out of 14. There's teams that are going to be kicking themselves. Atlanta might be so mad at themselves in 2 years. You just don't know.
I don't think he would have worked in Atlanta. I think he just works really well in Patriots. Vikings isn't a bad shout because of the weapons around him. He's one of those quarterback that needs weapons, though. He is one of those quarterback that needs weapons. I don't want to.
I think that's a mischaracterization. Wow, I can't speak today, but anyway, because he is super intelligent and he's accurate. So I think everything else, if you have good coaching and you're good, falls into place. But maybe
not weapons.
He needs all those things. I agree. But I think he's a guy who's going to transcend not the NFL, but what they said his ceiling was.
Yeah, maybe not weapons. Maybe that was the wrong thing to say. What I was talking about is coaching, system, that kind of thing. And he will pick up the most complex system that you want him to pick up. So 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, that would be the place that would have been a great place for him to go. I understood the 49ers moving up if they took Justin Fields, who I know you don't particularly like Justin Fields, but he's a better version of Trey Lance from all the film that we saw. And I understand Trey Lance could have had a higher ceiling.
No, I agree. It's still to be determined, and I get where you're coming from. But personally, I'd take Trey Lance. But
I know you do, but I think Justin Fields proved more to move up for him. Chances are, and I can't believe that the Falcons didn't take Justin Fields as well. That really upsets me. But anyway, we're talking about Mac Jones right now, and Mac Jones is doing exactly what he needs to do. He's the perfect Belichickian quarterback. He's really smart kid. He's all the stuff that we said coming out, and everybody just saw him as in a class where you have Trevor Lawrence, who's the archetypal quarterback. You have Zach Wilson, who does crazy things with his arm. You have Justin Fields, who's crazy athletic. Trey Lance, who's crazy athletic. I think that just that made everybody want Mac Jones to be athletic and made him want. But if he went last year, he would have gone above Tua. He's a better version of Tua Tagovailoa, right? And so I think it's more just the people who we came out with is the reason that we expected so little of him, rather than the fact he's shit, because he's really good.
Well, the last thing I'll leave this on, and it's not even about these two teams, but it's about your guy, Justin Fields. Be careful, because Ohio State quarterbacks don't work in the NFL. On to a game to the Bengals. So I kind of set up Buddy V for failure on our last podcast, but I told him I was setting him up for failure before I worded the question the way I did on how many points will the Steelers beat the Bengals by, even though we picked the Bengals. So I set Buddy V up for failure on that one, but I didn't see a 41-10 ass whipping coming. I did not see that.
If we all look back to last week's podcast, I just want to make it known that I did say that this probably won't be that close. So I'm very happy with myself right now. But the thing that I find the most surprising about this 41-10 is Jamar Chase didn't put up any big numbers at all.
Well, I think we should have a new rule, because 31 points is astronomical in the NFL. It's happened a couple times. And the new rule is if you lose by more than 30, you get relegated to the CFL. Fuck it. We're going to go with European rules. We're going to start relegating teams to other leagues, because this is getting absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. But Big Ben Roethlisberger. So as much as he's a Hall of Famer, he cost them that game. A lot of the play. He didn't entirely cost them that game. There's not much he could have done to stop them from scoring 41 points, obviously. But 10 points, he looked bad, man. He looked real bad. He looked like if I was trying to play quarterback and I've never played a snap of quarterback in my entire life, mixed with my 60-year-old granddad playing quarterback. So he's my quarterback brain with my granddad's athleticism at quarterback, as far as I can see from Big Ben Roethlisberger. As much as he was playing yesterday, I just want to make this very well known. Big Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Fame quarterback. His career has gone on 2 or 3 years too long.
So this is my thought too. You already know Kyle Rudolph cannot play. Okay. Ben Roethlisberger's looking awful. How bad does Dwayne Haskins have to look in practice, Ohio State quarterback, for them to not even give him a shot up until now? It's like, if we don't see him anytime soon, that means that they have zero faith and they're watching something in practice on a kid who can't play.
He's just as bad as we expected him to be after his stint at Washington. If the Washington football team are letting go of you and their best quarterback came out of the XFL, and Tyler Heineke is playing lights out, but Dwayne Haskins is a first round pick, for the Washington football team, and they were so willing to get rid of him when at the time their best quarterback didn't have a leg and was close to death's door with Alex Smith. Oh, they have to go pick up Taylor Heineke out of the XFL. I mean, he's not a good quarterback, and I think that's clear for everybody to see. The Bengals, however, have an absolute stud at quarterback in Joe Burrow.
In college, Dwayne Haskins was better than Justin Fields. The way he played, the way he looked, I liked watching him play better. I know when he got to Washington, he was Joey Jerkoff and did some, like, wouldn't show up to practice, never first guy or last guy in, first guy out, you know.
Which nobody can level that at Justin Fields because he's an
I thought maybe going to Tomlin over in the Steelers was perfect for him, that kind of culture to do it. But if they're still not giving him a shot, then either he's still Joey Jerkoff or he just isn't the right person for the NFL game. But again, and this isn't all quarterbacks because things happen and people are different, be very weary, minus Mac Jones, of Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks because they're always surrounded by a shitload of talent. Also, be wary of Oklahoma quarterbacks because they're always, not that they can't play, but when you got a guy that comes from these schools who can recruit so many kids that your number 3 could start at another school, be careful of overvaluing guys from these big schools. I mean, I love Jonathan Taylor, but the reason people didn't always believe in him is because in Wisconsin, you can drive a truck through the holes, so they never know how good a Wisconsin running back is.
Yeah, and, you know,
I just don't know where Dwayne Haskins is. If they're not playing him, he must be off.
Yeah, he must be really bad because Big Ben looked shit. And that Pittsburgh defense isn't right if it's giving up 41 points while Jamar Chase only gets 3 receptions for 39 yards. Like, how are you giving up 41 points when Jamar Chase is getting 3 receptions for 39 yards? Joe Burrow is an absolute stud. And thank God he was taken number 1 overall. That was the right decision to make.
And we've both said this, let's just give them this year to get together. Like, I'm not expecting a Super Bowl from them. So let's just let Cincinnati be what Cincinnati is and grow while they play. Yeah. And then let's see what they do moving forward, because I think they got the right start. We both agree you might want to get some more people to protect Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that they're a year ahead of where I thought they were going to be at this stage in their rebuild. They're a year ahead because they are getting those games where they're just getting blown out or losing games they should win. But they're also getting these games where they hammer the Pittsburgh Steelers and teams like that as well. And I think,
or they beat a couple teams you think they're going to lose to. Yeah, they're coming.
Exactly. They're coming. They're coming. They're a year ahead of their development.
All right, guys. I think we went across all the biggest games of the week for you. I know that Maddie and I just loved having to relive some of those games for you, but stay tuned.
Pay referees.
Yeah, the refs. We could bang on the refs all day.
Pay referees to get them some fucking consistency in between all of the games. That's all I asked for. You can't watch the Vikings game and the PIs that are missed in there and then watch the Cowboys game and not see. Oh, anyway, doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, there was a couple bad calls in that Packer Ram game. Like it just up and down the board. The Ravens Browns had a couple, but I just stopped right. If I wanted to write them down, we'd have done 45 minutes of me pointing out bad calls, right? And nobody wanted. We already lived them on Sunday. I've said before to you, I resent the fact that when a touchdown scored, I can't get excited right away because I have to wait to see if there's a flag. So
shout out to the Denver Broncos for playing a great game against the LA Chargers as well, where the LA Chargers in the second half, I think they had something like 20 minutes of offense compared to the Broncos, like 5 at some point in the third quarter. That was a stat that I saw, and they somehow managed to win. The Chargers absolutely shot on the Broncos and still managed to lose by about, like, what did they lose by? 15 points. Incredible.
It does make that Broncos Chiefs game a little more interesting coming up,
Definitely. The Broncos are a good football team. Definitely.
Yeah, they're solid, but I don't think any of us find them to be great. Now watch, they'll go into Kansas City and just walk them or something.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, keep your eyes open. We're going to bring you our top 5 receivers. And then we will give you a preview of next week's game along with the next week's power rankings.
The latest edition of who's on the COVID list for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that's a whole podcast in itself at this point. All right, guys, thanks for watching. One World, One Love. Deuces.
Cheerio.